Hello everybody, welcome back to another car show, and this is the big one, the Woodward Dream Cruise. It's pretty spectacular, it always is. And this one is a little more special than usual, because on the same week as the cruise, I went to the Gilmore Car Museum, which means not only were there oddities and oddballs that are usually associated with the cruise and odd pairings like a Shelby GT350 and a Ferrari Dino 308, but you also see some of the rarest cars in the world. You will definitely cover why they are some of the rarest cars in the world. But in the meantime, let's get started with Miscellaneous, which is everything except America. There's nothing wrong, there's great vehicles in here. I love the Cappuccino, I love the Honda Acti, and then we've got the Germans and the Italians coming up. But this is Americana. Like, this is the Woodward Dream Cruise. It's primarily about that, so we're going to be focusing a lot on that. Although, the Stagea 260 RS is a phenomenal machine. I love a fast wagon, especially when it has Nismo GTR parts on it. So no complaints there. And similarly, no complaints about having the 30th anniversary, the SV, and the VT versions of the original Diablo. All in a line, too, a fantastic lineup. There were a lot of Diablos that day. Probably saw 6 or 7 of them. There must have been a convention in town or something. But yes, this is an American show, and we're just going to group them all together, okay? There's nothing wrong with them. They're brilliant. I love the Fiat 1500. It's very underrated. And I love the tasteful modifications on this E30 wagon. I love the wheels in particular. With the tint, I don't know if you want to call it the paint on those rims, it really matches the dark green. It's very subtle, but very tactful. And there were even some modifications of these cars. Just because they weren't American muscle cars does not mean they were not modified or custom, like the Playmobil, I guess, is it Playmobil? No, I forget the name of the little micro car you drove when you were a 5-year-old. So, it's nice to see these slightly more rare, in the case of the 540 Special Roadster, one of, I think, 58 ever built. Even rare when you go by color and engine size and whatnot, so it's also beautiful. It is one of the most beautiful cars I have seen in a very long time. This is not quite as expensive, but the 21-window Volkswagen bus is certainly up there in terms of absurd value. And on the newer side, we actually had the Porsche Spyder RS, the brand new RS with the crazy GT3 engine in a convertible. I like seeing new stuff, especially when it makes an incredible noise when you're not crawling along at 5 miles an hour. Going on to the British, we have an eclectic collection, shall we say, with the Lotus Elan S2 all the way up to the not-so-small Aston Martin F1 edition, and the even bigger, if you can believe it, given the size of modern vehicles, the Lagonda. I did not expect to see a Lagonda. It's so impressive. I didn't even notice my finger was on the bottom right-hand corner. But there you go. It's nice to see a very rare, obscure, yet incredible vehicle. Going farther back in time, we have the road-legal version of Bentley's Le Mans Racer. It's a 4.25-liter straight 6 in this one. Rolls-Royce had an equally valuable car with the Springfield Phantom by Brewster, and the French just had to one-up them both, because they brought a genuine Delahaye. I've seen a few Delahayes. I'm not so sold on the green. The interior is a bit weird. But I mean, a Delahaye is a Delahaye. It's a fantastic-looking car. What can you say? It's exquisite. Now we're going to take a slight detour and look at, the history of the automobile for a second. Because these are some of the oldest vehicles on the planet. 1902, 1903, back before there was even the car. It was the auto car. This is a Cadillac runabout. It's not even a car yet. They're runabouts. They have like 2 horsepower. And this one here in particular is the oldest, as far as I could see and as far as they could see, the oldest unrestored vehicle in the world. It's from 1902, and it is in original condition. That's incredible. I didn't think that was a thing, but the Thomas 17 touring car is, quite a machine. Now we're going to go to Ford, because we had the 131st Model T ever built. We had a very luxurious Model A, but more pressingly, in my mind, we had the deluxe pickup Model A, which was a luxury pickup truck. They were very far ahead of their time on that one, but since the pickup truck was still viewed as utilitarian only, they didn't sell any. It's very rare. Isn't it funny how that works? And luxury $80,000 trucks are everywhere, but Ford was way ahead of the curve on that one, and no one cared. Now, then we have some more obscure vehicles. We got the Stults. These are your Depression-era vehicles. And, yeah, the Cadillac here, it may be a V8 instead of the V16, but it kept them alive during the Great Depression. It's one of the reasons that Cadillac survived when Duesenberg and Cord, all those other companies, the Stultzes, they all failed. But not Cadillac, because of that 1930 V8. And then we have, going back away from the history of the auto car to just weird American cars, like the City car, the weird EV, or the Kaiser Darren with the crazy doors that slide into the fenders instead of, open. It's not a very fast car. I'm not a big fan of the nose, but those doors are so freaking cool. And then we have the Tucker. This is the third Tucker that I have seen. It is chassis number 1047. It's not quite as low mileage as 1050 from last time, but 2 Tuckers in 2 months out of 50. That's pretty impressive. This, though, is a brand new car that I've never seen. This is a Panos Esperante. It's not related to the race car at all. It's from 2005. And I have never seen a Panos road car before, so I'm glad I got to check that off the bucket list. It's a funky-looking thing. But let's move on to the big three, shall we? Dodge had a massive showing. If you want a Viper, there were a lot of them. We'll get to some truly special ones in a bit. But we're going to move on from the Viper because there were so many and focus on the classic muscle cars. This is a very rare Dodge Charger because it was equipped with an optional passenger side mirror. I didn't know the passenger side mirror was very rare, but you can see this Charger Daytona does not have one. Apparently, you did not need to see on your right-hand side back in the 60s. That one doesn't have one either. The more you know, the more you know. Now, Ford had a very interesting collection from Lincoln, like you see here, or Mercury in particular. They had the Cougar Eliminator with a fantastic orange and black paint job, the Boss 302 engine in it. Really more of a track car, even more so than the normal Mustang. Right up there with the Boss 302 in terms of pace. And then there were the big dogs, like the Mercury Cyclone here, which became the Cyclone spoiler for homologation purposes. It's a big car, and there were 2 of them, one at the Gilmore Museum and one at Woodward. I really like it. It's not quite the Torino, shall we say, but it's pretty darn good. And like I said, there were lots of strange Fords going around. The Bronco is a classic. It's got the open top, which is very rare for an SUV now for obvious reasons. And the Pinto Rally may be incredibly slow, even with a 5-liter V8 in it, but I like estate cars, what can I say? Now, this is not a normal Thunderbird first gen. It is the last first generation Thunderbird ever built. Chassis number 53,166. Yeah, I was wondering why I was on a plinth, and that's why. It's incredibly valuable. I don't know how valuable the last first generation ever was, but I can guarantee you it's not as valuable as these. This is a genuine Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt drag car for the road. The front bumpers were made of fiberglass. It did 11s in the quarter mile in 1963, and there were 2 of the 100 ever built at Woodward, meaning 2% of the entire production run for these fantastic vehicles was in Woodward. It's my favorite vehicle and show by a country mile. And I say that knowing what's coming later, but I've been wanting to see a Fairlane Thunderbolt for ages, so I have to finally check that on my bucket list. It's a fantastic vehicle. Now we need to talk about General Motors, because they were also in, obviously, because it's the Woodward Dream Cruise, in spectacular showing. You had, normal vehicles like the 26th Corvette ever built, or the Typhoon drag racing SUV that was faster than a Ferrari in the quarter mile. You had the new Corvette C8 ZR1, which, as impressive as it is a phenomenally quick car. I don't think it looks different enough to the Z06 to really stand out. Sorry, that's my controversial opinion. I did not expect to see a Yenko SC Camaro. I saw my first one ever down in Indiana, and seeing a second one in a month is really special. Very special indeed. I love the Yenko Super Camaro. It's got such a great history with the Copo system. Really an overlooked car. This is also an overlooked car. It looks like a normal Firebird, but is in fact the ultra-rare Firehawk additional trim level made by a third party. It was then covered under warranty by Pontiac. Now, Pontiac also had another dragster of theirs, the Candiana 421, arguably the grandfather of the Thunderbolt that we saw earlier. But let's move on to the concept cars, shall we? We had some, your standard stuff like the RTR Mustang concept that we saw there, all the way to your truly weird stuff like the Cole here. That was the prototype for Firestone's balloon tires. A very important car that required special suspension just to fit those brand new, as we now use today, tires. Now this was a C3 Corvette concept called the Great White. Not particularly special. I don't really like the design, but it's pretty interesting. This was the 67 Shelby GT500 prototype that was thrown in a scrap yard and was allowed to work on by prison inmates before it was finally restored to its prototype condition. But this is the most important prototype of them all. Because this isn't just a Jeep, this is the Jeep, built by American Bantam and the Checker Cab Company. I mean, it's the baseline for the entire Jeep program. Everything from this was Genesis. This was one of the most important cars ever made, I would argue, given its World War II significance, but the BRC-40, as it was called, was what became the Jeep. One of the most iconic cars of all time. You don't see that every day, but we're going to head on to the race cars, our second to last section of the day. Some familiar faces, some new ones. This is one of the oldest race cars in America, the Franklin Model D from 1911. But it was not the only open-wheeled legend here, because there were also a few Indy cars in attendance. Mainly 2 driven by A.J. Foyt to his 4th Indianapolis 500 win. I believe it's the one on the far left. Now, this is not an Indy car, this is a Formula 5000 car, but it is one of the most beautiful paint jobs I have ever seen. It is immaculate. I don't think it's quite a golf car like sponsored by the company, but it certainly looks it, and it is a stunning bit of design. A weird bit of design is this 3/4 midget racer with an engine in decidedly an obtuse location. I imagine it's very loud, and you really hope the cylinder doesn't detonate, because that would be quite scary, I would imagine. Now, the Radical is all well and good, but the Radical with its skin off, where you could see the internals, that was very interesting to look at, seeing how the chassis works and the brakes, and you see the engine in the middle there with all the reinforcements. That was fascinating. But let's go back to the Vipers, because the Thunderbolts were my favorite road cars. My favorite race cars was not this one in particular. That was just an IMSA car. This one, though, well, you might know it. It was the first Viper to ever win the 24 Hours of Le Mans back in 1998. Yep. That very car won the 24 Hours of Le Mans. I saw the one that won Le Mans in 2000. This is the second of the 3 Vipers that won Le Mans that I've gotten. I just need 1999, and I got the whole set. That is a very, very special car, and I do not take lightly seeing it. That is... It was difficult to put into words how incredible it was to see it in the flesh. Now, these were interesting vehicles. This one and the next one. These were Ford and Chevy's EV NASCAR prototypes. Look, whether you like NASCAR or EVs or EV NASCAR as a whole, that's not the debate. These are I just find them to be very interesting race cars. And Ford had quite a few race cars in attendance. You got the crazy 1,800 horsepower Cobra Jet EV dragster. If you didn't want EVs, they had their off-road division here. So they had the Baja 1000 competitor and the Dakar Rally competitor. Our old friend from Goodwood, the T1 Plus Raptor, and the Bronco R Baja Racer. It's interesting to see how such different classes are different from each other despite being objectively the same purpose of go through a desert really quickly. Now, this would not be good through going through a desert, but I just love how absurd the Super Mach-E is. It won its class at Pikes Peak. It probably would have won overall had it not been for such a short run this year. It's mental. It's one of the most mental vehicles I've ever seen. I thought the Super Truck from last year was insane, but look at, it's like twice the size of a standard Mach-E. It's like 2 feet wider. I mean, the NASCAR is already crazy enough, but look at the Pikes Peak car compared to the NASCAR. My God. That is a phenomenal achievement. Again, whether you like EVs or not, that is one of the wildest vehicles I have ever seen in my entire life. I mean, look at that rear wing. Look at that splitter. Wow. But we're going to finish off with a staple of Woodward. We had to circle back to Woodward after the break at the Gilmore Car Museum and go to the crazy custom vehicles that this place is famous for. It's the best part of the cruise by far. So you saw the Ute converted Dodge Magnum. You had all sorts of off-roaders and rock crawlers and monster trucks. I mean, look at this Galaxy. Yes, I know it's just a Galaxy body on a truck chassis, but still, that is glorious Mad Max brilliance. I love it to death. Sadly, the Upside Down Van Man was not in attendance today, but, you know, you take what you can get. I don't have the Upside Down Van, but I have a V8-powered MGTC that is probably very, very fast. Engine swaps were pretty common at the cruise, obviously, but one at the Gilmore Car Museum I do have to point out, because it might just be the first ever EV swap. During World War II, gas was very short, so this one was still being used as a gas car, but they swapped an electric battery into it to make it an EV Model T. That is really cool. Really cool, I gotta say. On the other end of the spectrum, we have a BMW Isetta 600 with a V8 parked vaguely in the same zip code as the car. The engine is almost the size of the vehicle. That was special. Again, probably quite terrifying. It really threw the center of gravity off, but that was not the most impressive technical feat I've seen because, oh yeah, the massive shopping cart powered by a V8 was back. A true engineering marvel, even if it was really just technically a big roll cage. We already saw the picnic stand drive by. There was technically a Ford 32 Coupe that was decidedly modified. That is an impressive... I gotta respect the craftsmanship to make these vehicles. it took a lot of work and a lot of passion. We finally got to see them up close and not just driving around. Speaking of driving around, I don't think this is aquatic. I think they just got an RV chassis or a truck chassis and cut a boat up and put it on top of it. But, yes, please. This is what I come to Woodward for. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite vehicles here, but it's not my favorite custom vehicle because this exists. Yes, please. We didn't have the upside-down van, but we did have the RV camper towing the truck. They put a truck, I would imagine a truck, into a camper body and then towed, again, I would imagine an empty, gutted out pickup truck behind it. It's glorious. It's everything I want in the Woodward Dream Cruise. It might rival the upside down van in terms of creativity. And yes, that is why I love the cruise. That is why this is one of my favorite events of the year by a country mile. And it's just awesome to see so many different cultures of the different subcultures of the auto genres just mingling together with a little bit of chaos thrown in. It's like how I imagine people view a music festival. It's that type of vibe, that type of energy. And I like seeing new things like the Panos or the Thunderbolt. And the custom cars are just that extra spice to bring it up from a 10 to an 11. Now there's one more car show left in particular that I want to go to, so, well, let's just say it has something to do with cars like this one. See you then. Thanks for watching.